This year I decided that I'd give myself a real challenge on the photography side of things. I'm more known for my bird photography, but I wanted to really challenge myself. So my challenge this year is to find, watch and photograph one of the most iconic and secretive animals that we have here in the UK, the European badger. Now, the hardest part about badgers is actually finding them, and that's what this video is going to be about. But it's actually going to be in a three-part series. Part one is going to be about how to find the badgers. Part two is going to be about watching badgers and how to go about doing that. And finally, part three is going to be about, hopefully, after we've found them, if we've watched them, how to photograph the badger. So come and join me and let's go and find some badgers. So what we'll do is we'll look at the badger itself, how to identify it. We'll look at its habitat, where we can find it. We'll look at the evidence or the tracks and signs that are going to lead us to where badgers habitate. I'll talk about how I would go about doing a recce for badgers. I'll talk about badger sets and I'll give you some top tips along the way. Okay, top tip. As with any other subject in wildlife photography, you have to know your subject. It's paramount to understanding the badger's behaviour. That will allow you to get closer and it will allow you to get the images that you're after and to find them. Places to go to, obviously YouTube, which you're watching now, Google. One book I would recommend is this book on badgers from the RSPB, great book. And also this website, www.badgerland.co.uk. It has a wide range of materials that will give you all the information that you need on badgers, and the prices are very good too. So www.badgerland.co.uk, great website for finding about everything about badgers. So top tip, you need to do your research. Having done your research, it should highlight the fact that badgers are protected by law under the Protection of Badgers Act 1992 and the Countryside and Wildlife Act 1981. Namely, it's illegal to intentionally or recklessly damage, destroy or obstruct access to any badger set, and it's also illegal to allow a dog to enter a badger set or to disturb a badger in a set. So badgers are protected by law here in the UK. Okay, when it comes to the identification of the badgers, badgers are mammals and are actually the largest land carnivore here in the UK. They're members of the mustelid family, which means that they're related to things like weasels, stoats, polecats, pine martens and otters. A collective family of badgers is known as a clan. It's difficult to tell males and females apart. Males tend to be larger and heavier than females. Males are known as boars and the females are known as sows. The females themselves tend to have a short bushy tail and the males a thinner pointed tail. Plus the males tend to have a wider head. Okay, badgers' habitat, where are we going to find them? Well, here in the UK, badgers inhabit quite a number of land uses, but typically in areas such as countryside, farmland, which is around this area, woodland like here. Actually where I've stood now, I've had evidence of badgers in the past. So this is a typical woodland that you might find them in. But you can also find them in urban areas. And a good friend of mine, Mark Dunn, he gets badgers coming to his back garden literally every night. It's incredible. And I'm really jealous of him for that. A favourite place for badgers would be on farmland, next to the deciduous wood, on a slope, so it aids drainage from water. And the main thing is there a food source available for the badgers? A badger's diet, although they're classed as carnivores, the badgers have a varied diet. They'll eat earthworms, which make up approximately about 50% of their diet. They'll eat cereal crops, insects, especially things like wasp grubs, being a favourite of the badger, and they'll also take small mammals like rats and mice. During the summer and autumn, the badgers will switch on to eating berries and fruits, and they'll also eat carrion. Okay, top tip. Top tip is tracks and signs. It's absolutely critical to finding badgers to be able to identify the tracks and signs that they leave in the countryside. find the tracks and the signs, analyse them, what they mean, and that should get you closer to finding them. Now, I did a previous video on tracks and signs, which is available on my playlist at Kevin Hatley Photography. Badgers leave a wide range of tracks and signs and clues with the tracks, the drop-ins, the pathways, etc. And that's what we're going to look at next. When it comes to the tracks of a badger, badger has got 5 toes and it places its feet flat on the ground when it's walking. The actual badger print itself is wider as it is long, and the central pad is kidney shaped, which stands out quite well. Good point to note is that badger claws cannot be retracted, so there should always be a sign of the badger's claw. And they often place the rear foot as they walk in on top of their front foot, so sometimes tracks can be smudged. Pathways. Badgers are creatures of habit and they will always follow well-worn paths. Paths will be roughly the width of a badger, and if you should be able to see in this video here, you can see that there's a well-worn path running through this wood, and you can see how low-lying it is as well, and that gives you a clue as to the type of animal that's been coming through here. Badger's such a low body on it that it does leave evidence that it has been moving through, and I have got trail cameras from this path of badgers being on it. Other things to look for on pathways are things like low-lying fences, scrubland, where if a badger moves through it, the hair on the badger can get caught, and that's a great piece of evidence to know that you've got badgers in the area. Now, badger hair is kind of black and white in colour, but they come off as a grey colour or a grey appearance. The hair's about 10 centimetres long, and at the top of it there's a small 2 centimetre black tip, and that's where we get the greyness from on the badger, the mixture between the black and the white. So pathways are a great way to find badgers, by being able to identify the fact that the trail that's been left behind is low-lying, and the likelihood is that it could be a badger. Okay, I'm out doing a recce, walking through the wood, and I found a gap, real true gap, in the edge of the wood leading onto a field, and that's what we're going to have a look at now. Okay, here we have the gap in the side of the wood, leads out onto a field. You can see where there's been runoff and the sediment of sand. I hope you can see this. You see these tracks with the claw marks, certainly claw marks, which would lead me to believe that a badger has walked across this field and has probably gone up to this wood. Unpleasant subject next, badger drop-ins. Badgers are very clean living animals within their sets. They tend to leave their drop-ins in communal latrines, which are often located quite close to the set, and they'll also at times mark their territory, especially on pathways. The latrines themselves are normally only a few inches deep, and they're normally left uncovered as they're communal. I've come back up onto the set. It's about midday. I've had a walk around and eventually I've found a latrine right, well, not that far from the entrance to the set, which is what you would usually expect. Latrines being not all that far from the set entrance. So let's go and have a look at that. Okay, here we have the entrance to the set, and then just not that far from the set there's a latrine, and it was the flies that gave it off. I seen the flies next to it, and that's what led me to the latrine. The drop-ins themselves are quite dark and soft, especially when the badgers have been feeding on worms, and they're kind of like sausage shaped, about 10 centimetres long and about 2 centimetres in diameter. When badgers are on a berry diet, then that results in a jelly-like drop-in. Smell is completely different from a fox. It's quite a musky smell, not foul like the fox. So it's important to be able to recognise badger drop-ins. Snuffle holes, there's a term you might not have heard before. Badgers feed mainly on the surface or just under the surface of the ground, using their snouts to actually disturb the ground to feed. In doing so, they produce small holes that are about 3 inches in diameter and about 3 inches deep. When they're eating earthworms, what they'll try to do is they'll try to suck the worm up from its burrow, and it will sometimes leave a very small hole which you will see at the centre of the snuffle. Scratch marks. badgers leave scratch marks on trees, logs, fences, posts, and also do it in soft stone. And the reason they do that is in order to clean their paws and their claws. They're normally in 4 or 5 straight lines, parallel, and they'll also leave scratch marks where they've broken up decaying logs and stumps in search of food. So scratch marks, another good sign. Top tip, time of the day. Badgers are mainly nocturnal by nature, and they're most active around last light or just before. That is not the time of day to be going out trying to find them, because all you're going to do is you're going to disturb them and they're just going to go to ground. The best time of day to go out to try and find badgers, from my advice, is round about midday, when the badgers are at rest, and that will also ensure that any scent that you give off will be gone by the time the badgers emerge from the set later in the day. Top tip, badger recce. You know your subject, you've done your research, you can identify the badger sites, tracks and signs, and you know when to go and where to go to find them. Now is the time for you to go and do a badger recce. Now, I did a previous video on wildlife recce. I'm not going to go into great detail, I'll just cover the basics here. But if you want to learn more about how to carry out a wildlife recce, check out my video on wildlife recce. My starting point for a badger recce would be to look for some ideal habitat, like a wooded area on sloping ground next to a grassy area like fields, where there's going to be a food source that's going to attract the badgers. Take your time walking the ground, looking for tracks and signs, and any findings that you get, analyse them. Look for things like droppings, are they fresh? Colours of tracks, are they old, are they new? Again, freshness. Snuffle holes, again, are they old, are they new? Freshness. Freshly dug soil is an absolute great giveaway around the badger set. And also things like bed materials. Badgers will go out, as I've said before, they're very clean living animals. They'll go out, they'll collect bed material, and they'll drag it back to the set. So they're the sorts of things that you're looking for on your recce. If on your recce you identify a pathway, take your time again, look at that. Is it well worn? Look for low-lying obstacles around it that could give the game away. Brambles, fences, is there hair trapped in it? And I would say follow your instincts as well. If you think that the tracks and the signs are fresh, it may be a good idea for you to come back with a trail camera and set that up. And if you follow that advice and you carry out a good recce, the information that you gather and the findings that you get from it should lead you to our goal, and that is to finding badgers. And I just want to give you a little example of what I've just said. When I went up to Scotland last year to photograph red deer, and I went out for a walk early in the evening, and here it is. I was out walking in the early evening, and I noticed there was a depression in the ground. It's quite flat. It was obvious it was an animal track. And when I had a closer look at it, it actually led me to a dry stone wall. And at the dry stone wall, I could see clearly where it was levelled down, and that's highlighted in yellow in this photograph. And I thought, I wonder what that is. And the only thing that I could think about was badgers. And I could see that leading from the wall, there was a track. Again, the ground was depressed, where obviously the low body of the badger had come across, and there was 2 tracks leading from it. So I positioned my camera over that location, left it overnight, came back the next day, and this is the film that I got. I want to now talk about badger sets, and I just want to go through the simple diagram of a badger set with you. It's just a simple setup. Badger territories can be anything from half a kilometre to about 3/4 of a kilometre square. The set itself will be approximately from the latrines on the outside of the set about 30 by about 20 metres. There'll be pathways leading into and from the set, which you should pick up and lead you into it. and there's normally one main entrance to the set with subsidiary entrances around the set, depending on the number in the clan. And the tunnels in the set are normally linked with nurseries running off them. When it comes to actually going onto a badger set, the golden rule number one is silence is golden. Badgers have very good hearing, and they can easily hear things like twigs snapping, leaves being trodden on, noisy clothing. They can hear high and low frequencies from electrical equipment like cameras and phones. So you've got to maintain silence when you're anywhere near a set. Finding a badger set, as I'm sure you can see, isn't the easiest thing in the world to do. Even if you do find one, you have to ensure that the integrity of that set is protected at all costs. You have to carry out an assessment, and you should consider the following things. Can other people see you in and around the set? Can it be disturbed by other people? Walkers, people with dogs? What routes are there in and out of the set? Always try and have a way in and a way out, so you're not leaving one well-trodden set path. Signs that are going to lead you to a set are: is there a good spot tracks where you're going to be able to sit away from the set? Entrance holes. Entrance hole to a badger set is normally about 20 centimetres high and about 30 centimetres wide. There's normally a well-worn furrow at the entrance hole, and sometimes you'll often see bed material in that furrow. You'll find large spoils of earth around the set itself, and you should find latrines nearby. Okay, I've eventually found a badger set. So happy about that. Or I think it's an active set. I need to confirm that. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my trail cameras out and see what they provide. Now, I did a 3-part series on trail cameras if you're new to trail cameras. And again, you'll find that on my playlist. An introduction to trail cameras, settings for a trail camera, and my top 5 tips on actually placing a trail camera out in the field. To put the trail cameras out, I'm going to leave them in position for a few nights, and then I'm going to check them. And if I've been successful, the following is the results of that. Okay, so now that I've found evidence of badgers, I found a badger set, what I need to do now is let the set settle down and go about planning how I'm going to go about watching the badgers. And one aid that I am going to use is my trail cameras. They're absolutely fantastic for this type of work. The nights are starting to get longer, which means that hopefully the badgers are going to come out earlier and earlier, and I'll get a chance to actually watch them. But that will be my next video on how to watch badgers. So, all I would ask is, if you've liked this, could you hit the like button? Could I also ask you to subscribe to my channel, Kevin Hatley Photography? It doesn't cost anything, it's completely free. And what it does, it helps me grow my channel and bring to other people all around the world. I'm just over 3,000 subscribers now, which is absolutely incredible. I never thought I'd get that far, but I have, and that's thanks to you, my subscribers, who keep watching my channel, and thank you very much for that. So, until the next time, stay safe, take care, and I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.